The colony was quiet that night, the kind of silence that made every small sound echo like thunder. A young human named Daniel walked along the dusty streets of the outpost, his boots pressing against metal plates that covered the ground. The outpost was far away from Earth, built on the edge of known space, a lonely place where traders, miners, and wanderers came and went. Daniel worked as an engineer, fixing broken machines, repairing damaged ships, and sometimes helping the colony guards when they needed an extra hand. He was not a hero, not a soldier, not a leader. He was just an ordinary human trying to survive in a harsh corner of the galaxy. But that night, something happened that would change his life, and perhaps the fate of many. As Daniel passed by the old cargo yard, he heard a strange sound. It was weak, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. At first he thought it was just metal creaking, or maybe one of the stray animals scratching around, but when he looked closer, he saw a figure sitting near the shadows of a broken container. It was a woman, or at least she looked like a woman at first. Her body was thin, wrapped in tattered clothes. Her face was hidden under a hood. Daniel felt a shiver run down his spine, because he realized she was not human. Her skin was pale silver, her hands had long delicate fingers, and her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Daniel froze, his heart pounding. In the colony people often spoke of aliens, but most of them stayed far away. Humans were not always welcome among other species, and not every species trusted humans either. This one looked old, fragile, and tired, but there was something about her that made Daniel uneasy. "Please," the alien woman whispered, her voice cracked and dry. "Help me." Daniel looked around quickly, making sure no one else was watching. The colony was full of eyes, and rumors traveled fast. He knew if anyone saw him with her, there would be questions, dangerous questions. He stepped closer, against his better judgment. "Who are you?" he asked, keeping his voice low. The old alien raised her face slowly, her glowing eyes meeting his. For a moment Daniel felt as if time had stopped. Her gaze carried something heavy, something ancient, something that did not belong to the dusty streets of a forgotten colony. "I am lost," she said. "They hunt me." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to walk away, to pretend he never saw her, because he knew trouble when he saw it, and she was nothing but trouble. Yet something inside him, a quiet voice that he could not ignore, told him he could not leave her there. Before he could decide, he heard voices from the other side of the yard. Two men were walking by, drunk and laughing. Daniel quickly pulled the alien deeper into the shadows. The men passed without noticing, but the old woman looked at him with silent gratitude. "You should not be here," Daniel said. "People will not understand. They will think you are dangerous." The old alien gave a tired smile. "They already think I am dangerous," she whispered. "They call me a curse." Daniel frowned. He had heard stories, small whispers in the tavern, rumors of a strange old alien seen around the sector. People said she brought bad luck. Ships that carried her would vanish, colonies that sheltered her would suffer raids. No one wanted her near. But as Daniel looked at her, shivering in the cold night, he did not see a monster, he did not see a curse. He saw someone weak and helpless, someone who needed help. "Why me?" Daniel asked, almost to himself. "Why should I risk everything for you?" The old alien closed her eyes, and for a moment Daniel thought she had fallen asleep. Then she whispered, "Because only a human would." Those words struck him harder than he expected. He did not know what she meant, but deep inside, he felt they were true. He sighed and helped her stand. She was light, almost weightless, as if her bones were hollow, her body trembling with every step. Daniel supported her, guiding her carefully back to his small quarters, hidden behind the workshop. As they entered the dimly lit room, the old alien sat down on the floor, breathing heavily. Daniel gave her some water. She drank slowly, her hands shaking. "Thank you," she whispered. "You may not understand now, but what you did tonight will change much." Daniel sat across from her, his mind racing. He wanted to ask more. Who was she? Why was she hunted? What secret did she carry? But he could see she was too weak to answer, so he stayed silent. Outside, the colony slept, unaware of the storm that was about to come. Daniel did not know it yet, but by helping an old alien lady, he had stepped onto a path of danger, a path that would bring hunters, betrayals, and choices that could change fate itself. And in the shadows, unseen eyes were already watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. The night passed slowly. Daniel could not sleep. He sat on the edge of his bunk, staring at the strange old alien resting in the corner of his room. The dim light from the lamp made her silver skin shine faintly. Her breathing was uneven, sometimes soft, sometimes heavy, as if every breath was a battle. He kept asking himself the same question: why had he helped her? He had seen trouble before, smugglers, raiders, even corrupt officers, but this was different. She was different. Her presence felt heavy, like a storm hiding behind quiet clouds. When the first light of morning touched the colony walls, Daniel finally spoke. "Who are you really?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. "You said they hunt you, but why? What have you done?" The old alien opened her eyes slowly, her glowing pupils fixed on him. She looked weaker than the night before, yet her gaze still carried power. "My name is not important," she whispered. "Names are only sounds. What matters is what one carries." Daniel leaned forward. "And what do you carry?" She hesitated, her hands trembling slightly as she pulled a small object from beneath her robe. It was a crystal, cracked and dull on the outside, but when she held it, faint lights danced inside, shifting like stars. Daniel's eyes widened. He had never seen anything like it. "This," she said softly, "is memory, not mine, but of my people. Every thought, every discovery, every mistake, it is all here. I am the last to guard it." Daniel felt a chill. He had heard of alien relics, powerful artifacts that could change the balance of power, but this looked different, more fragile, more ancient. "Why are they after you?" he asked. Her voice grew faint. "Because knowledge is power, and power is fear. My people were once respected, but we became feared. Those who wanted control decided we must vanish. They destroyed our world, burned our cities, hunted every last one of us. Now I remain." With this, Daniel shook his head, struggling to believe it. If this is true, why come here? Why risk coming to a human colony? The alien lady gave a faint smile. "Because humans are not like the others. Your kind is still young, still reckless, still unshaped. You take risks, you make choices no one else dares. When all others saw only fear in us, one of your kind saw something else. He saved me long ago. Now I seek the same hope again." Daniel stared at her in silence. Her words unsettled him. Humans were not perfect. His colony was proof of that. Greed, selfishness, and betrayal filled the streets. Yet she believed in humans, more than most humans believed in themselves. Before he could speak, there was a sudden knock at the door. Daniel's body stiffened. His hand moved to the wrench lying beside his bed. He whispered, "Stay quiet," then stood and opened the door. Just a crack. It was a guard, a tall man with a sharp scar across his cheek. "Daniel," he said roughly, "anyone strange pass by last night?" Word is a fugitive was spotted near the yard. Daniel forced himself to stay calm. "No, just me working late, fixing pipes, you know how it is." The guard narrowed his eyes, glancing past Daniel into the room. Daniel leaned against the doorway to block the view. "If you see anything, report it," the guard muttered. "This one is dangerous. The whole colony is at risk if she is here." Daniel nodded quickly, and when the guard left, he shut the door, his hands shaking slightly. When he turned, the alien was watching him with calm eyes. "They will not stop," she said. "They will search every corner until they find me." Daniel rubbed his forehead. "Then what am I supposed to do? If they find you here, I'm finished. They'll throw me out or worse." The old alien lowered her head. "I did not ask you to risk this. You chose it. But fate is not kind to those who stand aside when they are needed most." Her words cut deep. Daniel knew she was right. If he turned her in now, maybe he could go back to his ordinary life. But deep down, he knew life would never feel the same again. He sat down, his voice softer now. "So what do you want from me?" She looked at him with tired but steady eyes. "Help me reach the stars again. Help me protect what remains. If I fall, all that my people were will be lost forever." Daniel stared at the crystal in her hands, its faint light glowing like a heartbeat. He felt fear, but he also felt something else, a strange pull, as if the universe itself was daring him to make a choice. The room grew quiet. Only the hum of machines in the workshop below filled the silence. Outside, the colony stirred with morning noise, unaware of the secret hidden behind Daniel's door. At last he whispered, "All right, I'll help you." The old alien closed her eyes, relief softening her face. But then she said something that made Daniel's chest tighten. "Then be ready, because the hunters are already here." Daniel froze, his heart racing. He moved to the window and pulled the blinds just enough to peek outside. In the distance he saw them, sleek black ships descending, armored soldiers stepping into the colony streets, their voices echoing through speakers. "Attention citizens, surrender the fugitive at once, anyone who hides her will be punished by death." Daniel turned back toward the alien, his mouth dry. The game had changed, he was no longer just helping an old lady, he was standing against hunters who would kill without mercy, and deep inside, he knew there was no turning back now. The colony that morning was restless, whispers spread through every market stall, every crowded street. Soldiers had landed, not human soldiers, but armored hunters from beyond the stars. Their ships cast dark shadows over the outpost, sleek and black, like blades cutting through the sky. Daniel stood by the window of his small room, watching them march into the colony square. Their boots struck the ground in unison. Their helmets reflected the rising sun, their weapons were sharp and unfamiliar. Humming with deadly energy, the people of the colony moved aside, afraid to even breathe too loud. The old alien woman sat quietly in the corner, her silver hands folded in her lap, her glowing eyes dim, but steady. She did not look surprised, she did not look afraid. Instead, she looked as if she had been waiting for this moment. "Who are they?" Daniel whispered, though he already guessed. "They are hunters," she said softly. "Not warriors of honor, but servants of power. They were made to erase what others fear, and right now, they fear me." Daniel clenched his fists. The hunters were spreading out, scanning houses, speaking through machines that echoed across the colony. "Attention, citizens of this outpost," the mechanical voice boomed. "You shelter a fugitive. Surrender her at once. She is a danger to you all. Anyone who helps her will be executed without mercy." The crowd fell silent. Then the whispers began. Some were filled with fear, others with anger, some already looked at one another with suspicion. Daniel's stomach twisted. It was only a matter of time before someone knocked on his door, or worse, pointed directly at him. "We have to move," he said quickly. "If they search here, they'll find you. I can't hide you forever." The alien woman looked at him with calm. "Then where will you take me, Daniel?" she asked, her voice carrying both weariness and true. Daniel's mind raced. The colony was small, there were few places to hide, the tunnels under the old mining district, the empty cargo ships at the dockyard, or perhaps the caves beyond the walls. But each choice carried its own danger. Before he could decide, there was a loud knock at the door. Daniel froze, his heart leaping into his throat. The knock came again, harder this time. "Open up," a rough voice demanded. "Inspection." Daniel glanced at the alien. She did not move, she only whispered, "Choose carefully, the next step will shape what follows." Daniel took a deep breath, then opened the door just a little. Two hunters stood outside, their armor black and silver, their faces hidden behind cruel helmets. One of them scanned him with a device. "Human male, unarmed," the machine voice said. "Stand aside. We search." Daniel's palms sweated. He knew if they entered, everything was over. In a desperate move, he stepped forward, blocking the doorway. "There's nothing here, I live alone," he said firmly. The hunters tilted their heads, as if studying him. One raised a hand, pushing him back with unnatural strength. Daniel stumbled, the door swung wider. Inside the room the alien woman was gone. For a moment Daniel thought his heart stopped, but then he saw it, just a faint shimmer in the air near the corner, like heat-bending light. She had hidden herself somehow. The hunters scanned the room, the device beeped softly, but showed nothing. After a tense moment, they turned and left. Without a word, Daniel shut the door quickly, his hands shaking. He turned to the alien, who now appeared again, sitting exactly where she had been, her glow returning slowly. "You can do that," Daniel whispered, amazed. "You can hide yourself, only for a short time," she said, her voice heavy, "and it costs me much strength. We cannot rely on it often." Daniel rubbed his face, frustration mixing with fear. "Then we need to get you out of here, before they come back with better scanners." Meanwhile, in the colony square, the hunters gathered the people. Their leader stepped forward, his armor marked with blood-red lines, his voice deeper, colder than the rest. "You know what we want," he declared. "The old one must not live. She carries poison in her hands. Surrender her, and we will spare you. Hide her, and you will suffer." The crowd stirred nervously. Some shouted they had seen nothing, others lowered their eyes. But Daniel noticed something dangerous, a few faces in the crowd. Looked eager, greedy, the kind of people who would betray anyone for reward. Back in the room, Daniel paced. They'll turn the colony upside down for you. Someone will talk. Someone always talks. The alien woman closed her eyes. That is why I trusted you, Daniel, because I saw a choice in your eyes. Not greed, not fear, but something else. Her words filled him with both pride and dread. He had already gone too far, already risked too much, and yet he knew he could not stop now. Outside, the hunters split into squads. Their heavy steps echoed closer. The search was tightening. Daniel looked at the crystal in her hand, its faint light pulsing. What is inside that thing? He asked sharply. What makes it worth all this? The old woman raised her head slowly. The truth, she whispered. Truth that can free, or truth that can burn. They fear it because it cannot be controlled, but if it is lost, then hope will die with it. Daniel felt his throat dry, the air heavy. He realized the hunters would never stop, not until she was gone, not until her secret was erased. He moved to the door, gripping the wrench tight. Then we run tonight, before they close every path. I don't know where yet, but anywhere is better than waiting for them to find us. The alien woman nodded slowly, her glowing eyes steady. Then be ready, Daniel, because the road ahead is full of shadows, and some of them will come from those you call your own. Her warning hung in the air like a blade. Daniel did not fully understand, but deep inside he knew betrayal was coming, and when it did, he would have to choose again. Outside, the hunters tightened their circle, and the colony held its breath, unaware that one human had already stepped onto a path that would change everything. Night fell heavy over the colony. The streets that were once full of noise now lay quiet. Only the sound of boots echoed as hunters marched between the houses, their scanners glowing blue, their voices sharp. Daniel stood in the workshop, his hands restless, his mind racing. The old alien woman sat on a crate near the back wall, her silver skin faint in the dim light, the crystal in her hands glowing like a heartbeat. They will search again, Daniel whispered, pacing back and forth. We can't stay here, not anymore. The docks, maybe we can hide you in a cargo ship, maybe slip past their patrols. The alien woman shook her head slowly. They will watch the docks first. They are not fools, she said softly, but there are tunnels, old ones, deep under the mining district, forgotten by many. They might lead us out. Daniel stopped, considering. He had worked near those tunnels once. They were dangerous, half collapsed, crawling with shadows, but maybe dangerous was better than certain death. Then that's where we go, he said firmly, tonight. But outside, the colony had already begun to crack. Whispers of fear turned into whispers of betrayal. People were scared, and scared people often chose the path that saved themselves, even if it meant sacrificing someone else. As Daniel prepared a small pack, filling it with water and tools, a sharp knock came at the side door. Not the hunter's knock, but faster, desperate. Daniel froze, then opened it carefully. It was Merrick, an old friend from the workshop, his eyes wide, his breath quick. Daniel, what have you done? Merrick hissed. They're saying you've been seen with her. They're saying you're hiding the alien. Daniel's chest tightened. Keep your voice down, he warned, pulling him inside. You don't understand. She's not what they say. Marek's eyes darted toward the alien woman sitting silently, his face pale. Gods, Daniel, it's true, she's here. Do you know what you've done? They'll kill you. They'll kill us all. Daniel stepped between him and the alien, his voice low, urgent. She's not a threat, Merrick. She's being hunted because of what she knows, because of what she carries. If we hand her over, we hand over hope itself. Merrick shook his head, fear and greed mixing in his eyes. Hope doesn't feed my family, Daniel. Hope doesn't keep us safe. But the hunters promised reward, food, credits, freedom. For those who help. Daniel felt a pit open in his stomach. He knew that look. Merrick was torn, but desperation was stronger than friendship. You wouldn't, Daniel whispered. Merrick avoided his gaze, his hand trembling at his side. I have to think of my own, he muttered. I'm sorry. Then he turned and rushed out before Daniel could stop him. The old alien woman watched with sad eyes. Betrayal is often born of fear, she whispered. Do not hate him, Daniel. He is only what this cruel world has made him. But Daniel's fists clenched. If he tells them, they'll be here any moment, he said through gritted teeth. We move now. He helped her to her feet, her body still frail, her steps slow. Together they slipped out the back, keeping to the shadows. The colony streets were full of hunters, but Daniel knew the hidden paths, the alleys only locals used. The tunnels waited at the edge of the old mining district, broken gates rusted with age, the smell of dust and stone thick in the air. Daniel guided her inside, the faint light of the crystal illuminating the way. Behind them, voices shouted, heavy boots struck the ground, the hunters were closing in. Merrick had done what Daniel feared, the betrayal complete. The tunnels were narrow, walls crumbling, echoes chasing them with every step. Daniel's heart pounded. The alien woman moved as fast as she could, her breath ragged. Her hands clutching the crystal. Suddenly a light flashed ahead. Hunters had already entered from another side, their scanners cutting through the dark. They're in the tunnels, a harsh voice shouted. Daniel pulled the alien deeper into a side passage, stones breaking under their boots, the sound giving them away. A blast struck the wall near them, sparks and dust filling the air. Keep moving, Daniel urged, dragging her forward. Don't stop, no matter what. The hunters followed, their voices cold, their weapons slicing through shadows. Daniel threw down a small tool from his pack, a flare bomb. The sudden flash blinded their pursuers. For a moment, buying them time, but the tunnels twisted like a maze. One wrong turn and they would be trapped. Daniel's lungs burned, his mind screamed for a way out. At last they reached a wide chamber, broken rails scattered across the floor, old mining carts rusted in the corners. Daniel pulled her behind a cart, both of them gasping. They won't stop, he muttered, sweat dripping down his face. They'll chase us until one of us falls. The alien woman placed the crystal in his hands, her eyes glowing faintly. Then you must carry this if I cannot, Daniel, she whispered. Do not let them take it, no matter what happens. Daniel looked at the crystal, its faint stars swirling inside, the weight of it heavier than iron. He felt fear, but also a strange strength. Then the sound of footsteps filled the chamber, hunters pouring in from every side, their armor gleaming in the faint light, weapons raised, their leader stepping forward, his voice sharp. It is over, human, surrender her and live, resist and die. Daniel stood, the crystal tight in his hand, his body trembling but his eyes steady. He knew there was no escape left, only choices, and choices carried fate. The alien woman rose slowly beside him, her voice quiet but strong. Sometimes, the path forward is through the fire, she said, her gaze locked on the hunters. Daniel felt the air grow heavy, the moment stretched like a string ready to snap. Betrayal had led them here, now only courage could take them further. And in that dark chamber, with hunters closing in, the true chase was only beginning. The hunters surrounded the chamber, their armor gleaming, their weapons glowing with blue light. Daniel stood with the crystal in his hands, his heart racing. The old alien woman stood beside him, frail yet steady. The leader of the hunters stepped forward, his voice deep and cold. Hand her over, human, she is a danger to you, to your kind, to all. His words echoed like iron in the stone chamber. Daniel tightened his grip on the crystal. She's not a danger, he said, though his voice shook. You are. The hunters laughed, a cruel sound that bounced off the walls. The leader raised his weapon, but before he could fire, the old woman lifted her hand, her voice soft but commanding. Enough, she said, and the chamber filled with sudden silence. Her eyes glowed brighter than before, her silver skin shimmered, the air itself seemed to tremble. Daniel felt the crystal in his hands grow warm, pulsing like a living thing. The hunters froze for a moment, uncertain. Do you know who I am? She whispered, her voice carrying an ancient weight. I am not only an old woman, I am the last memory of my people, the last keeper of our truth. Daniel turned to her, stunned. Her words carried power he had not heard before. Keeper, he repeated, unsure of what it meant. She nodded slowly, her voice stronger now. My people were called Illyrians. We were not warriors, not conquerors. We were guardians of knowledge. We carried the history of many worlds, the maps of stars, the secrets of balance. Our duty was to protect truth, not to rule with it. Daniel's mind spun. He looked at the glowing crystal in his hands. This is your people's memory, he whispered. Yes, she said, within this crystal are the thoughts and wisdom of generations. It is more than history. It is the key to understanding what others fear, unity, knowledge that can heal or destroy, depending on who holds eye The hunters hissed through their helmets. One shouted, lies, poison. She twists the truth, but their weapons did not fire, as if even they were unsure. The old woman raised her head, her glowing eyes filled with sorrow. They fear this truth, Daniel, because it frees minds, because it breaks chains. Those who thrive in control cannot allow such freedom to exist, so they destroy it, destroy us, until I remain, a shadow of what was once bright. Daniel's chest tightened, he felt the weight of her words. He saw her not as a fragile alien, but as the last voice of a silenced world. Why me? He asked softly. Why give this to me? I'm no hero. Her gaze softened. Because you are human, and humans are still unshaped, still free to choose. Others would only see danger, but you see choice, risk, even hope, and that is why I trusted you. Daniel's throat went dry. He wanted to deny it, to say she was wrong, but deep inside he knew she was right. He had already chosen, again and again, to help her. When logic told him to walk away, the hunters stepped closer, their leader growling, enough of this, hand her over or you die, his weapon charged with a high-pitched whine. The old woman looked at Daniel, her voice calm. You can still walk away, Daniel, give me to them, and they may spare you. Your life will return to what it was. Daniel stared at the hunters, then at the crystal glowing in his hands. He thought of Marek's betrayal, of the fear in the colony, of the old woman. Shivering in the night, he shook his head slowly. No, I can't walk away anymore, he whispered. The alien woman smiled faintly. Then you carry more than you know, Daniel, you carry the fate of what comes next. The hunters raised their weapons, their leader pointing straight at Daniel, but before he could order the attack, the crystal flared in Daniel's hands, light spilling out like a thousand stars. The chamber lit up as if the sky had collapsed into it. Visions rushed through Daniel's mind. He saw alien worlds, towering cities, great machines powered by light, endless skies filled with ships. Then he saw fire, destruction, Illyrian cities burning, screams echoing, hunters marching across broken ground, and finally, silence. He gasped, falling to his knees. The crystal dimmed, but its warmth remained. The old woman placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch steady. Now you know, she whispered. Now you see what they did, what they fear, what they cannot allow to rise again. Daniel's eyes burned with anger. He looked up at the hunters, his voice steady now. You destroyed them, didn't you? You erased her people because you were afraid of their knowledge. The hunters did not answer, but their silence was enough. The old woman turned to Daniel, her voice soft. This is why they will not stop, not until both me and the crystal are gone, because truth is more dangerous than any weapon. Daniel rose slowly, his fists clenched, the crystal glowing faintly in his grip. He felt fear, but stronger. Then fear was determination. He could not let them erase her. He could not let truth die again. The hunters raised their weapons again, the leader's voice sharp. Then you will both die tonight. Daniel stepped forward, placing himself between the old woman and their guns, his voice steady. You'll have to go through me first. The chamber fell silent, the hunters preparing to fire, the old woman closing her eyes, the crystal pulsing like a heart, and in that moment, Daniel knew the truth about her was not just a story of the past, it was the spark of a future, one that now burned in his own hands. The first shot rang out, and the world around them exploded into chaos. The first shot ripped through the chamber, stone shattered, sparks flew across the walls. Daniel threw himself forward, pulling the alien woman down behind an old mining cart. Beams of blue light cut through the air. The hunters fired without mercy. Daniel's heart pounded. Every blast felt like thunder in his ears. He gripped the glowing crystal tight in one hand, his wrench in the other, useless against such weapons, yet it was all he had. The old woman's voice was steady, even in the chaos. They will not stop, Daniel, they will keep coming. Daniel gritted his teeth. Then we fight, he whispered, his body trembling, but his will firm. The hunters advanced, their boots heavy on the stone, their weapons lighting the chamber with deadly flashes. Daniel ducked and rolled, pulling the woman deeper into the shadows, blasts striking where they had just been. He spotted an old rail track along the floor, broken cart still resting on it. His mind raced. If I can push it, maybe block their line of fire, he thought. He shoved the rusted cart with all his strength, the screech of metal echoing. The cart rolled forward, crashing into two hunters. knocking them off balance, but more stepped over their fallen comrades, their leader raising his weapon high, his voice cold. The human dies first. The alien woman raised her hand, her eyes glowing. For a brief moment the air shimmered, a wave of light burst out. It slammed into the hunters like an unseen force, pushing them back, their weapons sparking. Daniel stared in awe. You had this power all along, he whispered, her face twisted with pain, her body trembling. It costs too much, she said softly. I can only do it once more, and then I will be gone. Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to argue, but the hunters recovered quickly, their armor shielding them, their weapons glowing brighter. They spread out, cutting off every escape path. The crystal pulsed in Daniel's hand, its glow stronger. He felt something strange, as if the crystal was reaching into him, filling his mind with flashes of knowledge, not clear words, but images, energy flowing, patterns, possibilities. Daniel, the woman said, her voice weak but urgent, the crystal listens, it remembers, it responds to will. If your heart is strong, it will lend you its strength. Daniel swallowed hard, gripping it tighter. The hunters raised their weapons, the leader shouting, now. Beams of light fired. Daniel raised the crystal without thinking. A shield of pure energy burst out. The blast struck it and scattered like rain on glass. The hunters staggered, shouting in shock. Daniel gasped. The energy surged through him, burning, heavy, but alive. He pushed forward, the shield expanding, driving the hunters back step by step. The old woman smiled faintly, her voice a whisper. Yes, Daniel, now you see, this is why they feared us, not because of power, but because we could share it. The hunters regrouped, their leader furious. He pulled out a heavier weapon, a cannon glowing red. He fired, the blast struck the shield, cracks of light spread across it. Daniel fell to his knees, pain searing through his arms. I can't, he gasped, sweat dripping. I can't hold it. The woman placed her hand on his shoulder, her glow fading. Then I will give what I have left, she whispered, her energy flowing into him. The cracks in the shield healed, the light blazing brighter. Daniel felt her strength pour into him, her life itself burning to keep him standing. The hunters stumbled as the shield burst outward, a wave of energy knocking many of them down, their weapons clattering, but the leader stood firm, his armor glowing with reinforcement. He raised his cannon again, his voice like a growl. You will not win, human, you will burn with her. Daniel rose slowly, the crystal blazing in his hands, his voice steady. Maybe, but not today. The leader fired. Daniel thrust the crystal forward, the energy met in the middle, light and fire colliding. The chamber shook, stone cracking, rails snapping, the roar deafening. The hunters were thrown back, their leader staggered, his armor burning, his weapon shattering. The energy consumed him, his scream echoing before silence. When the light faded, the chamber was in ruins, dust falling from the ceiling, broken weapons scattered across the floor. The hunters who survived crawled away. Defeated, their will broken, their retreat echoing into the tunnels. Daniel fell to his knees, the crystal dim now, his breath ragged, his body weak. He turned to the old woman. We did it, he whispered. She smiled faintly, her eyes fading. No, Daniel, you did it. I only gave you what remained, but now my time is done. Daniel shook his head, panic rising. No, stay with me, we still need you, I still need you. Her hand rested lightly on his, her voice soft. You do not need me anymore, you carry what matters now, you carry truth, you carry choice. Her glow faded, her body growing still, the crystal in his hand pulsed once, then quiet. Daniel felt a hollow ache in his chest. She was gone, but before silence fully claimed the chamber, her final words echoed in his mind. Protect it, Daniel, and let it guide you. Daniel closed his eyes, his fists tight, the hunters defeated, but the war far from over. He had survived the final stand, but the cost was heavy. And outside the tunnels, the galaxy had already begun to shift, for one old alien's truth now lived in the hands of a human, and nothing would ever be the same again. The chamber was silent, broken stones scattered across the floor, the last echoes of battle fading into the tunnels. Daniel knelt beside the old alien woman, her body still, her glow gone. His hands trembled as he held the crystal, its faint light pulsing slowly, like a fading heartbeat. For a long moment, he could not move, his chest heavy, his throat tight. She had given everything, her last breath, her last strength, to protect him, to protect what she carried. Daniel felt the weight of it pressing down on him, heavier than any weapon, heavier than any chain. At last, he rose, his body weak but his spirit burning. He looked around. The hunters who had survived were gone, crawling back to their ships, defeated, but not destroyed. He knew they would return. He knew this was not the end, but he also knew something had changed. He walked out of the tunnels, the night sky above filled with stars. The colony was restless. People gathered in the streets, whispering, afraid, uncertain. They had heard the battle, felt the tremors in the ground, seen the hunters flee. Their eyes turned to Daniel as he stepped into the light. In his hands, the crystal glowed softly, its light spreading across the crowd. Many gasped, some stepped back, others fell silent. "This is what they fear," Daniel said, his voice carrying through the square. "Not weapons, not armies, but truth, the truth they tried to erase, the truth she died to protect." The people stared, confused, fearful, but also curious, sparks of something new in their eyes. "She was no curse," Daniel continued, his voice steadier. "She was the last of her kind, a keeper of knowledge. They hunted her because they were afraid of what she carried, but now it lives here." He lifted the crystal, its light shining brighter. "And I will not let it die." A murmur spread through the crowd. Some bowed their heads, ashamed, others looked away, unable to meet his gaze. And yet, for the first time, a few stood taller, their fear shaken, replaced with something else. In the distance, the hunters' ships lifted from the ground, their dark forms vanishing into the stars. But Daniel knew it was not victory, only a pause. They would regroup, they would return, but the crystal was safe for now. As days passed, whispers grew into stories. Stories of a human who had stood against hunters, who had risked everything to protect an old alien lady, who carried a light that even the darkness could not break. Daniel worked quietly in his workshop, but he was no longer the same man. The crystal rested near him, its glow steady, and sometimes, when he closed his eyes, he heard her voice, guiding him, reminding him. Not long after, strangers began to arrive, travelers from distant colonies, curious about the story. Some came with fear, others with hope. Some wanted to take the crystal, others wanted to learn from it. Daniel guarded it carefully, never letting greed or fear touch it. One night, as he sat alone, the crystal flared suddenly. Visions filled his mind once more. He saw humans standing with aliens, not in war, but in unity. He saw ships flying not to conquer, but to explore. He saw choices that could build or break, futures branching like rivers. When the vision ended, Daniel sat in silence, his heart pounding. He understood then what the old woman had meant. Fate was not fixed. It was shaped by choices, by courage, by truth, and now it was in human hands. The colony began to change, slowly but surely. Fear loosened its grip, trust grew in small ways. People spoke of the old alien not as a curse, but as a teacher, her sacrifice remembered, her legacy alive. But far beyond the colony, in the dark halls of power, the hunters' masters seethed, their plans broken, their fear rising. They whispered of the human who dared to carry what should have been lost. They vowed to return, to finish what they had started.